Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another video. Um, this I think will be one of probably maybe like three that we could end up doing throughout the day today because um, I do kind of have something planned to do something later on with you all and show you all that I think would definitely take a part one and a part two later on. One of the YouTube channels that I've been watching and following, has definitely inspired people like myself, people like us, people like myself and company, to kind of start maybe trying new certain recipes and stuff again. And I'm thinking for now, or I'm kind of thinking for a while at least, off and on, about maybe doing a little bit more, and more. Well, maybe doing a little bit more, maybe even doing more and more vlogs and videos on, like, trying new recipes and stuff, because one of the YouTube channels that I've seemed to be watching more of, the videos and stuff, and have been following more of, has definitely been very well into, showing people like us, certain new recipes and stuff. And I was thinking about maybe trying one of them out, trying one of them out on us, maybe later. So, to start the day, I thought I would start doing a vlog by just, kind of bringing a good bit of you all in on that. So just finished up this week's work schedule yesterday, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Yesterday it seemed all go all right and stuff. Of course, yesterday was definitely, not just because of the fact that it was Friday, but the fact that it was, the last Friday right before Super Bowl Sunday, and Super Bowl Sunday 2020 being just days away. Well, now it's just one more day away. Tomorrow's the day for Super Bowl Sunday 2020. I'm even thinking maybe we'll do a couple of. I'm even thinking we'll vlog and video. Some interesting some interesting stuff that we kind of have planned for that. I'm kind of thinking that we'll probably try and vlog and video. Probably not a ton of the game. Probably not like a ton of the game, but maybe like at least a part or maybe a couple parts of the game. And of course, I remembered that last year we ended up vlogging and videoing the halftime show. I'm kind of thinking about doing that again this year for Super Bowl 2020 tomorrow. I was even kind of thinking about kind of upping the ante a little bit with stuff this year for Super Bowl Sunday. I'll either try to show you that, show you some of that sometime later today or early tomorrow, before we get going with all of our before we get going with all of our stuff and stuff. So we know what this upcoming week's work schedule is going to be as of now, under 26 and a half under 26 and a half hours. Monday 9 to 3:30, Tuesday and Thursday 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. as of now, as of right now, kind of, decided to suck it up with that, this week coming up tomorrow, and then to finish up work schedule next Friday 9 a.m. to 3:45 p.m. I did look at my next work schedule for week of February 8th to February 15th, February 8th to the 15th of February. Looks like I'll be doing Monday the 9th, Monday the 9th, 9 a.m. to 2, Tuesday the 10th, 9 a.m. to 4:30, off Wednesday the 11th, and then Thursday the 12th, 9 a.m. to 4:30 again, off Friday the 14th, Valentine's Day, and then finish up work schedule that week. It's been a while since we've worked a Saturday, but that's Saturday the 15th, day after Valentine's Day, 9 to 2. 9 to 2. 9 to 9 to 2, the 15th of February. 9 to 2. 9 to 2, the 15th of February. 9 to 2, the 15th of February. And so basically, yesterday seemed to go okay. Seemed to go all right. Seemed to go okay. Doing 9 to 4:30 yesterday, and I think, well, this was around the time last year that we ended up doing, Appreciation Week. Appreciation Days and Appreciation Days and Appreciation Week. Appreciation Days and Appreciation Week around right up around this time. Right up around this time last year. Right up around this time last year. It's just I remembered us doing it a week earlier last year. So a lot of things, pretty much all week long at work at Henrietta BJ's Wholesale Club location. We've had stuff. We've had a good bit of our break room all decorated and set up. Like we've had like red, white, and blue like streamers kind of spanning across our break room. We've had some big plastic gold stars put up throughout our break room. And we've had a couple fold-up tables, all set up with some interesting, very well decorative table covers and stuff. And so, well, yesterday, while we were going about our business at times throughout the early part of the day out in the parking lot, there would be times when some of our other coworkers, we'd see them, carrying a couple plates of, carrying a couple wrapped up plates of food back to their department with them, or to take when they're ready to leave for the day, when their shift is done for the day and they're ready to leave for the day and stuff. And so, kind of was, of course, we were kind of wondering what exactly was up and what exactly was going on. We knew something was going on. There probably was something going on in our break room. And when we finally took our lunch break and when we finally took our meal break and our meal period, sure enough, sure enough, there was almost like a ton of food. Believe it or not, surprise, surprise, it looked like they had a lot of stuff. It looked like well, believe it or not, one of many Olive Garden locations happens to be right nearby Henrietta BJ's Henrietta BJ Henrietta BJ's Henrietta BJ's Wholesale Club location. One of many Olive Garden one of many Olive Garden one of many Olive Garden locations happens to be right nearby work area at Henrietta BJ's Wholesale Club location, the border of Henrietta. So we actually happen to see that, you know, we had a good bit of we happened to see that ended up taking the opportunity to take advantage of a good bit of Olive Garden's catering, Olive Garden's catering menu and stuff. Olive Garden's catering menu. They had stuff from yes, a lot of their breadstick, a lot of their breadstick, a lot of their breads, a lot of their breadsticks, a lot of their breadsticks to a good bit of their spaghetti fettuccine, and then and one of my favorites, most and foremost, from places like Olive Garden, one of their lasagna dishes, which again is one of my favorites from Olive Garden. And then they had both some things of both some things of marinara sauce, and then some things of Alfredo sauce, where you could maybe the way I did it. I took a little bit of some spaghetti, and I kind of split it up, kind of broke it up. One side put some Alfredo sauce on top. The other side put some marinara sauce on top. Put some marinara sauce and the other side put some marinara sauce and stuff on top. And it was definitely really awesome. And one of the other guys that work at Henrietta BJ's Wholesale Club location, one of the other gentlemen at BJ's Wholesale Club location, the border of Henrietta and stuff, had said, I've never had a day yet where I've ended up looking forward to coming to work so much. I've never looked forward to coming into work so much. He had said. That was all because of what we had going on in our break room yesterday. That was all because that was all because that was all because of what we had going on in our break room yesterday. So and so then, pretty much when it came time for me to clock back in from my lunch break and my meal break and my lunch period, my meal period and stuff, just had pretty much just another hour, another hour left to go with my shift and stuff. And so again, everything went all right. Went all right. And all went okay yesterday. Doing 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. yesterday. I mean, you know, at the end, had a couple situations where like one was at first they were gonna ask one of our maintenance gentlemen if they could go and assist somebody with them or bring like a Berkeley Jensen brand twin mattress twin mattress over to twin mattress over to the member services service desk area, and they had buzzed him a couple of times, and then they, of course, were wondering whether he had any walkie with him, and then so they said. So they said, so they said the gentleman's name again. They said, or Alex, that would be me, and of course, I ended up agreeing to take care of that, and so I did, of course. Um, uh, So, and so then did what I had to do, grab the Berkeley Jensen twin mattress, brought it over to the member services member services service desk area, member services service desk area, and then once the person who was getting it found us, we just and we knew that it had all been rang up, and everything was good, to go with bringing it out and loading it all up and stuff. Of course, we went out and did that like so. Kind of was, we were kind of in a situation where, so this was one of many people that had an SUV, and it all pretty much, did just fine getting in. It just, took a little bit of, it was kind of a situation where it took a little bit of, getting a part of it over, over the top of the seats and the headrests of the top of the seats up in the middle of the vehicle. So fact, it was towards the end of shift, and biggest thing you're thinking about doing what you got to do, and then so biggest thing that was on our mind is using the cart that we ended up using for wheeling it all out and stuff. When we went about lifting it all and lifting it all in, and then using the top part of the cart that we ended up using to wheel it all out as kind of like a support, because then one of the best ways I had thought of was for me to go in to open up one of the side doors and go in and give it a pull from there. One thing we didn't realize is that, the cart we ended up using kind of, it didn't mar anything. Nothing got marred and stuff, but it did leave a little mark a little bit. We didn't realize till it was a little too late that, it kind of ended up, kind of creating a little bit of pull in the cart that we ended up using to wheel the mattress out and stuff. It left a slight little mark on their back bumper again. Nothing had been marred really, pretty much, none of that really so much. But we didn't realize till it was a little too late that kind of the fact that it ended up kind of touching back bumper a little bit and did kind of leave a little mark, of course, like, person asked, did asked, did the cart you were using end up touching back bumper? When we took a look at it, things had said yes, we did. Again, like I said, again, nothing, pretty much nothing had been marred or dinged or anything, but it was enough where it did kind of leave a little mark a little bit. So it was enough where, of course, we said we're sorry, we're sorry, we didn't realize till it was too late. We're sorry, we didn't realize till it was too late. And then we got the rest of the mattress all the way in as far as we could get it in, and they were satisfied with it all. And then they said, "All right, we're good. Go ahead and do whatever else you got to do." And then of course, at the end just said, "Well, you really do need to kind of be careful with these carts and kind of watch what you're doing with some of these carts, when sometimes the stuff." And of course, that was it after that. And then final thing to finish up the last little bit of our shift, one of our gentlemen who happens to be kind of one of our regulars, who tends to require assistance with, usually tends to get large orders of like, cases of water and stuff, like, and the final situation we were in was, at first, they were gonna ask that we provide and accommodate them with 20 cases of the Wellesley Farms 40 pack of Wellesley Farms cases of water. And then we decided, and then they decided they'd be good with they'd be good with they'd be good with they'd be good they'd be good with they'd be good with just 18. They decided they decided at the end. They decided at the end they'd be good. They'd be good with just 18. And then we ended up, in addition, doing we ended up doing 5 cases of one of the we ended up doing 5 cases of one of the pull. We ended up doing one of the 5 cases of pull and spring. Pull and spring. Pull and spring brands and stuff. cases of water, cases of water and stuff, cases of water, cases of water and stuff, cases of water, cases of what, cases of water and stuff, cases of cases of cases of what, cases of water and stuff, cases of water and stuff, Poland Spring cases of water and stuff, five of the Poland Spring cases of water. Well, one of the kinds of Poland Spring cases of water, with water. And did all right with that. And so then we ended up wheeling it to one of the registers to get it all rang up and stuff. And so like like when at first you think they're gonna think, at first we think just follow them, and then they go and then they go like and they go like no, just go ahead and go that way, and we'll and go ahead and go that way, and we'll meet you up front. We'll meet you up front. We'll meet you up. We'll meet you up front. We'll meet you up. We'll meet you up front. We'll meet you up. We'll meet you up front and stuff. We'll meet you up front. And we dealt with everything just fine. It's like, fact that, you just got, for the situation where you finished up assisting the person with loading up twin mattress, and you kind of got into a situation where the cart you ended up using kind of didn't realize too late that it kind of created some pulling kind of, movement, to the point where it once more nothing got marred or anything, or nothing got marred or dinged, but it did leave a little mark to the point where they, it just said in the end, you do need to kind of, be careful with these carts and kind of try and, make sure you're watching what you're doing and stuff. And, again, that was it after that, it's just, it is challenging knowing that, situation like that was kind of all on you a little bit, and, then finally, right after that, dealing with person and gentleman that usually requires large order of like cases of water and stuff, and did all right with that. And of course, it is obvious, as much as you wish you just want to be done till your next day to work with dealing with such things, obviously it's obviously still stuff you obviously just cannot ignore. Again, and obviously, of course, with the situation right before that, where we kind of left just a little mark, and where we kind of just left a little mark on back bumper, the floating twin mattress situation, and you may feel tempted to say, well, I'm sorry, but I've been here since like 9 o'clock. Well, I've been here since like 8:30, 9 o'clock. I've been here since like 8:30, 9 o'clock. I've been on since like 9 o'clock, and I'm just feeling too tired to think straight, or, there's just too many things, can't stop thinking about. We obviously know that ain't right. If you're gonna tell somebody that, you tell somebody that stuff your work area grounds. Well, you should tell somebody that stuff off of BJ's Wholesale Club, off of BJ's Wholesale Club grounds, off of BJ's Wholesale Club grounds. And again, obviously, you know, there's no sense of doing anything to make yourself look like the bad guy. Obviously, that obviously wouldn't look up on stuff. You know, just suck it up. Just suck it up and deal with what you got to deal with. Obviously, you know, you obviously got zero control over when the next when the next buzz for member assistance is going to be. And of course, we've been doing just fine with being fair of the being fair of the members first perspective. We've been doing just fine with that. We've been doing just fine with that. And, you know, I know that, you know, it is obvious that, you know, again, we've been dealing with these, you know, mainly longer days, you know, mainly 6.5 to 7 hour, and kind of starting to do a good bit more and more 7.5 hour days, 7.5 hour. 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 7.5 hour day. 7.5 hour day. 7.5 hour. 7.5 hour. 7.5 hour. 7.5 hour days. 7.5 hour days. 7.5 hour days. You know, okay for the most part. And trying and you know, just trying to come to the realization that, you know, in the end, sometimes, you know, there can be times where you know, it is obvious that, you know, there can be certain situations that, you know, there just sometimes can be no way out of, and there just can be no way out of, and it is what it is. It is what it is, and it is what it is, and that's pretty much it from there. You know, there's some stuff that's kind of making me think about, you know, like, I know before a while back, a few months ago, 7 months ago, you know, when people had offered, you know, the option of maybe giving other things a try besides just, you know, cart retrieving and stuff, you know, like, you know, cross training and like maintenance, or, I mean, one other position I sort of had thought of off and on was like, you probably all know what I'm talking about with this, like, you know, up at the front door right before you leave. You know, person that'll check your receipts and check everything, make sure everything that you've gotten all is good and stuff, and stuff, you know, and like, you know, like, again, before, for a while, they were doing it like hole punching your receipts. For us, at least, at Henrietta BJ's Wholesale Club location, it's different now. That's changed. Now they just take like a black marker or a black Sharpie and just, you know, and just draw a line through certain part of your receipt. Certain part of your receipt. You know, I've often on sort of thought a little bit about perhaps maybe some point giving that a try, Um, again, like we said, I've been at BJ's. I've been working at BJ's Wholesale Club, Henrietta BJ's Wholesale Club location, well over a whole year, well over a whole year now, and so we've been dealing with mainly 6.5, 7, and more right now more and more 7.5 hour days regularly, right, right, regularly, well over a whole year now. And obviously it is obvious. It does get to the point where, like, it does get to the point where, well, I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned this yet in any of my videos that my videos that I've done so far. Well, I'll kind of use this as an example. We've had a longtime friend who, ever since my childhood and stuff, ever since my childhood, all through my childhood, and all pretty much right in through my junior year of high school, had been next door neighbors, during a good chunk of the amount of time that I had lived in my hometown of Village of Hilton, New York. And there was a point for a while where he did end up working at Paychecks for a while. And stuff had, seemed to go all right for the most part, but as time went on, he realized that stuff at Paychecks just got to be too much stress for him, to the point where he ended up deciding on quitting, and really then from there ended up deciding on being ready to move on. Well, ended up deciding on being time to move on. Ended up deciding on being time to move on. And of course, he had said how, yes, of course, it is obvious. We both know that it is obvious that nobody likes to, deal with, the rest of their life, all the way up till the time that it's time for them to retire, dealing with work area where you hate going in every day, So, it's like, sometimes, certain jobs, certain work areas, like trial and error, it's just kind of a trial and error kind of situation. I mean, another thing that I have off and on thought of, and I think I may have said in at least one or maybe a couple of my videos that I've done so far. I know there's probably not much leeway really for this right now. There's probably not much, room, or probably not much, probably not much in the way of opening for this right now. I've sort of thought about, bringing up to people at work at Henrietta BJ's Wholesale Club at work at BJ's Wholesale Club location, border of Henrietta, border of Henrietta, border of Henrietta, border of Hen, border border of Henrietta, border of Hen, border of Henrietta, border of Henrietta and stuff, border of Henrietta, border of Henrietta and stuff about, perhaps switching to like closing. I mean, they've known me best, doing the day shift up to this point for well over the past year, well over the past, 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 well over the past year, well over the past year and stuff. The way I looked at it last year, the way I looked at it last year, like, okay, well, I got a job again, back to making cash, back to having the cash coming in, and just kind of for at least the time being cool about sucking it up with the logic, sucking it up with the logics and stuff at work at BJ's Wholesale Club. Again, it's now it's been well over a whole year now, and like I said, we have ultimately gotten to the point where we've very well, at this point, at this stage of the game, definitely pretty much, I think, the way pretty much just about everybody sees it in our end, definitely have pulled together well more than enough. Well more than enough money. Definitely pulled together well more than enough money to be able to afford to be able to afford to maybe, just maybe, give going on some kind of people and places cruise. That is, if there is even enough people interested, or even enough people that feel like they can afford it, based on their financial situations and stuff. I know, like, maybe some people have said before, I've never heard anybody say this, but of course, the way that I definitely tend to think of it, it is obvious sometimes before you get to the point of dealing with the point where your financial situation is good enough and you've pulled together enough money to be able to be able to afford to do this, or be able to afford to do that, or be able to afford to go on this type of vacation, or be able to afford to go on that type of vacation and stuff. We do gotta deal with pushing through those moments of dealing with the good bit of those challenging moments of stuff where like situations of where, like, certain people you're assisting, you really got to act like you really do know what you're doing, or you really got to act like you're able to be on guard. You really got to act like you got to be able to be on guard and have patience, like we said, like I've said in at least one or a couple of my videos before, at any retail store, any department store, any retail store, it obviously does take patience. It obviously takes patience at times to work at pretty much just about any retail store. Any retail and any re, any retail and any retail store. So anyway, I was perhaps thinking about perhaps maybe, of course, you only have so much time before things really usually pick up at work at BJ's, at least on certain days of the week. Perhaps like maybe just briefly, not the place where you want to take too much time away from whatever else is going on with everybody else there. With everybody else there. But maybe kind of bringing to our HR ladies' attention, HR person's attention there. That there is stuff that's sort of convincing me about perhaps some point eventually thinking a little bit more and more about trying, like other certain positions, like maybe I do want to give maintenance a shot. Maybe I do want to give dealing with, the front door position a shot, the one where you check everybody's receipts and also, at times, take a look at everybody's stuff that people end up getting to make sure everything's all good. Make sure everything's all good. Make sure everything's all good and stuff. Or seeing perhaps about trying to switch to closing and stuff. Now, my understanding is that, stuff usually goes till like 9 o'clock. For that, stuff usually goes till like 9 o'clock at night, till late at night. You know what I mean? Right now, with at this point, right now having RTS access, public transportation, shouldn't be too hard to deal with. Turning availability around for stuff like that to allow it. Just again, chances are right now there's probably not much in the way of a whole lot of much room really right now with that. Again, backtracking to the story about one of our old friends who had been next door neighbors with us for quite a long time back during my amount of time that I lived in my hometown of Village of Hilton, New York and stuff. The Paychex story situation about how when he had worked for Paychex for a while, but then as time went on, things got to a point where he had realized that it just wasn't for him, and it just got to be to the point where he just felt like it just got to be too much stress for him, So it got to the point where he decided it was time for him to quit, or really more so time for him to feel like it was time for him to move on and stuff, Trying not to look too much at that with BJ's and stuff, when I first, had started at BJ's Wholesale Club, border of Henrietta and stuff, and my mom had asked, so how do you think BJ's compares to like Wegmans and stuff? And I mean, the biggest thing at first, like my mom and company at first, had, reason to look at stuff that had reason had reason and had reason had reason had reason had reason and had reason anticipated and had reason had reason and had reason anticipating stuff is that maybe it didn't seem as stressful as the way things seemed at Wegmans based on doing well or stuff like like dealing with seeing other people getting recognized and stuff. At the same time, in the end, it kind of it kind of more seems like it does seem like the reality is that it can at times seem more like kind of a at kind of more like a at times demanding kind of demanding job at times, especially on the days when there's more stuff going on and you're definitely going to be, having things have you end up, getting, bounced around to doing this and that. So, definitely making good money work at BJ's Wholesale Club location. Again, like I said, definitely at this point, at this stage of the game, pretty much pulled together well more than enough money, to do this or that. Like, if there even is enough people interested, and if there even enough, if there even is enough people interested, and that feel like they even their financial situations even are good enough to allow it with to allow it with doing people and places cruises, then that we definitely at this stage of the game pretty much definitely pulled together well more than enough money for that stuff. I got to get going pretty soon, pretty shortly. As far as people and places cruises, Bermuda cruise, well, all of them are a big bill to pay them for. Bermuda cruise, $3,295. Western Caribbean, $3,395. Disney, $3,495. Best in New England, $3,400. Best in New England, same thing, $3,495. Bahamas cruise, $2,995. So that's very close to $3,000. And Eastern Caribbean, $3,595. So each of them is definitely a big bill for sure, to pay them for. And again, like we've said, we have gotten to the point where even though yes, every one of them for people and places, or organization vacations for adults with developmental disabilities, even though every one of them is definitely quite hefty, quite hefty and stuff. At this point, at this stage of the game, we've definitely pulled together pretty much, all in all, well more than enough money to be able to afford to pay them for the bill. once again, you know, like I said, the other night on late Thursday evening, late Thursday night, you know, people and places, you know, stuff, you know, our managers here, soon after we turned everything into them, you know, when I asked them where we stand with stuff like that, again, they said, yes, they had it. Yes, they have already submitted it. You know, again, it's just kind of, you know, early in the process with stuff, you know, we're just in the stage of waiting till it gets to the point where it is the right time to hear back from them where we stand with everything. You know, again, we are definitely doing good financially at this point, you know. Like people have said, that's one of the very good things about having a job. Obviously, we know that, or stuff like that. For stuff like that. All right. Well, you know, I think that's as far as I can bring the blog and the video there. I got to get going and get ready to take care of grocery shopping shortly. We shall be back a little later on with something that I think you definitely all will definitely be very that I think you definitely will all be very with something that I definitely think you all should probably be very well impressed with, you know, and something that would definitely very well be very satisfying to you. Will, I think, be something that I think will take a part 1 and a part 2. We'll explain everything and show you everything all later on. Show you everything all later on later today. We'll talk to you later.